Hey guys, it's Jack from JRP Custom Painted Furniture. Welcome back. We've got a new project ahead this week and it is a huge one. So if you haven't subscribed, please click that button. This is it. It is a huge 3-piece set. We have a tall boy, a low boy and a side drawer, all matching, and as you can see, it is a beautiful Harry Potter themed unit that the previous owners have painted up for me. Besides all the dirt and the custom paint job, it's actually in pretty good nick, so I'm really excited about this piece. We are going to have some repairs to this though, because there's a number of drawers that just aren't working. The bottom one of the low boy in particular, there are no slides on that whatsoever. I've had to take them off because the drawer just would not budge. And here's just a nice close-up of our custom paint job. Bloody hell, Owie! Okay, first things first, let's remove all the hardware from the 3 pieces. Now it's time to give it all a good clean. I'm just using dish soap and water and a microfiber cloth just to wash down as much as I can. And here's where things go terribly wrong. I've started to wash down this unit and I've realised that I don't know what type of paint this is, but it is literally washing off. So this is going to be a lot of cleaning, but the good thing is that I won't have to sand it back as much. But it is just literally falling off with the dish soap. The red drawer won't budge, but the rest of it's coming off quite well, and the gold around the sides coming off quite well. But I can safely say I don't think I've ever cleaned a piece with this much detail in the past as I have with this piece. So now I'm just going over it with a clean cloth just to remove any of the excess soap that may have been left behind, any of the residue. And now I'm going back onto this tall boy to try and get as much off as I possibly can of this paint to prevent me from having to sand any of it off. I've now pulled out the toothbrush to get into the corners here, just to get this gold off on the corners and of the sides and the details. So the toothbrush was the only thing I had on hand just to get into those small areas. I wanted to get as much of this red off as I possibly could. So I've grabbed out a scrubbing brush and I'm just giving it a really good soak, and then I've just bought some mineral turpentine that I'm just going to try and get this last little bit off, just so we can sort of get rid of this red. It's just going to be a pain if I can't do it. So all in all, this whole cleaning job took me probably about an hour and a half to do. Just taking off the cupboards here so that I've got full access to the side drawer on the inside, because that will all be painted. And now I'm starting with sanding. I've got my sponge pad on there just to get around the detail of the corners of these units, and I've started off with 120 grit. Moving on to these drawers, just trying to get rid of these Harry Potter stripes so that we have a clean canvas to work with. Now that all the sanding's done, I've just grabbed my air compressor and I'm just giving the whole 3 pieces a good spray down to remove any dust. I've got my Timbermate Woodfiller here, and we're just going to fill up all the hardware holes on all of the 11 drawers and the single cupboard that we have on the side drawer as well. Now this process with the Timbermate Woodfiller, I like to repeat probably 2 to 3 times, as I hate there being any leftover hardware holes. So I always make sure that I do the same process about 2 to 3 times and fill the holes, then sand them back and fill them again, just so it's completely filled. Main reason because of this is the Woodfiller, regardless of what brand you use, it can swell. Or expand, I should say, with heat or with different temperatures. So I always like to make sure that there is plenty in there and that it's nice and smooth before I move on. And here I'm just using masking tape to cover the rollers that are staying so that they're not covered with paint. It's time to start priming this unit, so I've got my Wagner spray gun out, and for those of you who have watched any of my other videos, you know that I absolutely love my spray gun, and it is the best purchase I think I've ever made. It's so much fun to use and it saves so much time in the painting process. So we are using our primer in the spray gun at the moment, and I'm using Zinsser Waterbased primer. I'm going to do 2 coats of primer on the unit because I'm using a relatively light colour. So I want to make sure everything is completely covered and cured before I start with my main colour. We have some beautiful coverage with our first prime, so we'll let that dry. We'll give it a good sand back using anywhere between a 240 and 400 grit sandpaper, and then we'll start with our second coat of primer. Always remember, when you're using a spray gun, you want to overlap each line by about 30%, just so you have a good even coverage of spray. Giving it a quick sand down and a quick wipe with a microfiber cloth just to remove any dust particles before we come in with our second coat of primer. Just moving back onto the drawers here, I've got 120 grit on my orbital sander, and I'm just going over the hardware holes that I filled with the Timbermate Woodfiller. And now we're going in for a paint with the drawers. I don't usually like spraying drawers with my Wagner spray gun, only because I hate masking drawers up. So I tend to pull out a brush and a roller for drawers, and that way I can quickly zip through it. Back in the workshop again, and we're coming in with our main colour of this unit. So I've chosen this very light grey. I actually thought it was a beige colour with a hint of grey. However, now that I've put it on, it seems to be more grey than more beige, so it will work out really well. As mentioned before, in between each coat of paint with your spray gun, always make sure that you grab a 200 to 400 grit sandpaper and lightly sand down the project. It just removes any globs of paint that might be left behind or any bumps in the spray. As you can see with the colour, it's a really muted light grey. It's quite beautiful. It's going to look fabulous on the 3-piece set. With the colour on my units, I always make sure that I do a minimum of 2 coats for every piece. Sometimes it'll be 3, sometimes it'll be 4, but it's always a minimum of 2 for that extra protection. Here I've got Rustoleum Ultra Matte in the Slate. Now this is a primer and spray in one. I have all this excess gold hardware in moons, the moon shape hardware that I'm going to spray into this slate colour just to use them up, and because I think the slate will match the light grey perfectly. Now here was the second problem that we had with this 3-piece set. I knew I had to replace some of the slides on my drawers. However, it gave me absolute hell because they must have been about 1/2 mil out. So the drawers actually wouldn't fit. So then I had to take all the slides off all the drawers, mix them all up in order to make every drawer fit. We finally got there in the end, but it was a pain. So now I've got the Wagner spray gun back out again and all the drawers are in and everything is looking great. So I'm giving it a top coat with the Bondal Monocel Clear Varnish, water-based in satin. Once again, as with the colour, I always like to do a minimum of 2 coats of the top coat, just for that added protection. Yeah. These are part of a bedroom suite, so they are going to be used. There's going to be a lot of things placed on top of them, so I want to make sure that they are nice and protected. I've now got out my hole punch jig and I'm putting in new holes for our new moon-shaped hardware. If you haven't used one of these pieces of equipment, I highly recommend getting one. They are fantastic. You just set the hole to the hardware and then you can move it to each drawer and replicate the same width on every single drawer. saves you measuring everything and it saves so much time. If you have a look on my page, there is a short on the hole punch jigs and gives you more of an idea of how to use them. And now it's time to attach the hardware. The Rustoleum slate colour that I've painted this new moon hardware in looks fabulous against this light grey. I'm really happy with the end result. Now, do you remember what this 3-piece bedroom setting looked like before I started with it? Look how filthy it is, and not to mention the custom paint job that we had on our tall boy here in Harry Potter theme. But wait till you see it now. The light grey is quite striking. The slate hardware looks fantastic. And overall, I couldn't be happier with the 3 pieces. If you like what you see, guys, or if you have any questions or comments about this 3-piece set or anything in general, please comment below and please make sure that you subscribe to our channel. Thanks again for watching and we hope you enjoy it. See you next time. Bye.